I spent 24 hours on Stage 1 of Risk of Rain 2. I don't know how to transition properly, so I'm just going to start it. Risk of Rain 2's last update reintroduced artifacts into the game. There are 16 artifacts to switch up the gameplay and add replayability. Most of these artifacts make the game harder and don't offer much of a gameplay advantage. However, some of these artifacts make the game easier by drastically changing the core mechanics and completely altering the way the game is played. The most notorious example is the Artifact of Command, which lets players pick their items and eliminates all useless items and basically makes every run a god run. But this isn't even the most broken artifact. The Artifact of Sacrifice has the potential to completely break the game's progression system. Let me explain. This artifact makes all items drop from killed monsters, so instead of getting gold from monsters and then later using that to open chests, the Artifact of Sacrifice circumvents this process and directly gives you the item. The reason this is so busted is because there's a set amount of chests on each stage. I want to say around 15 maybe? Anyway, this caps the number of items obtained on each stage, but monsters spawn infinitely, so you never really need to move on. Pair this with the Artifact of Sacrifice recently being buffed, and the Artifact of Swarms, which doubles monster spawns and halves their health. Combining these two artifacts make it possible to stay on Stage 1 and get an insane amount of items. I pushed this concept to its absolute limits, and over the course of a few days, I managed to spend 24 hours on Stage 1. Enjoy. The first hour was pretty enjoyable. I got quite a few items, but nothing really notable happened. I would like to mention the orange equipment drops are not removable. You can only hold one at a time, so they'll just keep piling up. And if you know anything about game design, you would probably know having an excess of entities floating around isn't good. Every item that drops has its own code and assets that are constantly being loaded. And the more entities that are in play, the more entities that the game has to check and keep track of. And eventually this is going to affect performance. Right now, the game runs like a dream. Later on, I expected the game would either slow down or crash entirely. 2 hours in, bosses started spawning. Monsters were also spawning more frequently, and I started getting red items. There's a war banner that's floating, and that's pretty neat, I guess. Barnacles are like Mother Nature's nipples, man. It's fucking crazy.
It's just an idea.
4 hours in, and with 27 goat hooves and 34 sodas, I've become a very fast man. At 6 hours in, bosses were spawning very frequently. I also got an Aspect of Lightning, which is super rare. I'm also pretty sure that at this point I had at least one of every white and green item. It was also getting kind of late, and believe it or not, I was kind of sick of this game. So I went to bed and ended day 1. Seven hours in and the second day of playing. Thankfully, nothing catastrophic happened overnight. At this point, movement was getting really cumbersome. You get to a certain point with speed where you just can't pick up items effectively anymore. It takes just very precise movements, and it's really annoying. I did discover something interesting though. If you run off the stage, you get teleported back because you hit an invisible barrier. This barrier doesn't go all the way up, and there's no limit on how high you can go in Risk of Rain 2. So you can actually get over this invisible barrier and get outside of the map and go under it as far left, right, north, south, whatever. I didn't mess around with that too much because I don't want to fall into an infinite void and lose 7 hours of progress. So that's something to check out in another video. 10 hours in and the game was starting to lag. I also really apologize for the shitty video quality. The footage got really compressed because of the amount of things that are happening. I tried upping the bitrate, but that didn't help much. I apologize. Videos in future will hopefully look a little bit better. At 12 hours, just over the halfway point, the game is now lagging really badly. And when bosses spawn, the frame rate takes a huge dip, which is pretty frequent. You may have already noticed, the in-game timer is out of sync with the timer I have at the bottom. The way I recorded this video is every hour or two, I would record a clip of what's going on, as recording the entire run would take up a lot of space and strain on the CPU. but taking a lot of breaks is really annoying when you have a timer to deal with. So for that reason, I decided using the in-game timer would be more convenient. And for consistency, I aligned the in-game time with the timer every time I recorded a clip. However, it didn't really work this way. I didn't account for the in-game lag, so when I drop the frames in-game, it slows the entire game down, including the timer. By the time I made this discovery, it was so far on the run, and there's nothing I could do. This also means I spent more than 24 hours. I probably spent closer to 26, 27 hours total in a real lifetime playing this game. At 16 hours, the gameplay just plateaus. Not a lot changes, it only gets more laggy, and I don't think I can emphasize enough just how difficult it is to control. Hitting the slightest angle causes you to fly out of the map, and in order to maneuver to collect the items, you have to lightly press W for a fraction of a second, otherwise you'll overshoot your target and have to try again. I have so many war banners now that the area of effect is bigger than the entire stage. The war banners give the game an ugly orange tint, which at first I was really annoyed by, but it actually turned out to be a blessing in disguise because it's so much easier on the eyes. This was also the point I decided to go to bed and stop thinking about this game for a while. The third day of playing, and I'm 20 hours in. I only record these updates every 4 hours now because I didn't want to destroy my computer, because every time I started recording, my computer would literally wheeze in pain. Also, nothing notable was happening, so I didn't feel like I needed to document it. Although I did have a scare when I tried lowering the graphics settings and the game almost crashed. The not responding window popped up and I clutched my chest in pain. After a few minutes, it started working properly again, thankfully before I went into cardiac arrest. Anyway, at this point, the game is barely running. The bonkers movement speed coupled with the constant frame drops is the epitome of cock and ball torture. It's finally been 24 hours and I'm about to activate the teleporter to end this excruciating experience. The reason I haven't activated the teleporter until now is because once you complete the event, no new monsters will spawn, which means no more items. I stood still once I activated the goblet scepter thing. I just hoped and I prayed to the almighty gaming gods that they would smile upon me and the game wouldn't crash. Luckily, I was able to complete the event without crashing, so I picked up all remaining items before I attempted to load stage 2. I saw the not responding window, and I had no other choice. I had to put my faith in Tay Zonday, the god of rain. After what felt like an eternity, stage 2 loaded, thanks to the almighty deity, Tay Zonday. Surprisingly, once I got into level 2, the game was running really smoothly, which leads me to believe most of the lag experienced was due to the unfathomable quantity of orange drops on the ground. There were like at least 10. Since dying is impossible, I had to reach stage 8 and obliterate myself to end the game. I also stopped picking up items as they weren't part of the experiment. The game ran very smoothly, and I was able to quickly make it through stage 8 without much of a challenge. After 24 hours, I had 163 monster teeth, 169 bundles of fireworks, 57 hopu feathers, 149 gasoline, 179 sticky bombs, 68 wax quails, 173 energy drinks, 175 fresh meat, 148 focus crystals, 158 lens maker glasses, 157 backup magazines, 165 goat hooves, 64 chrono baubles, 139 soldiers syringes, 163 topaz brooches, 161 propulsion armor plates, 152 medkits, 151 stun grenades, 165 tougher times, 157 tri-tip daggers, 78 predatory instincts, 59 ATG missiles, 156 rusted keys, 73 death marks, 65 stealth kits, 64 rose bucklers, 73 infusion, 133 bustling fungus, 143 crowbars, 135 personal shield generators, 81 old guillotines, 73 Kaijaro bands, 54 squid polyps, 151 armor-piercing rounds, 86 harvester's scythes, 66 will-o'-the-wisp, 57 leeching seeds, 162 cautious slugs, 57 Rue Nald bands, 163 war banners, 61 Gore's tome, 71 berserker pauldrons, 68 red whips, 62 ukuleles, 66 bandolier, 2 hard light afterburners, 64 razor wire, 63 fuel cells, 60 Lipton daisies, 3 Angus, 5 interstellar desk plants, 60 war horns, 2 resonance discs, 5 brilliant behemoths, 8 frost relics, 6 shattering justice, 4 soulbound catalyst, 3 sentient meat hooks, 1 unstable Tesla coil, 2 happiest masks, 4 H3AD 5T V2, 3 Nukahana's opinion, 3 ceremonial daggers, 1 wake of vultures, 4 Dio's best friend, 3 rejuvenation racks, 1 57 leaf clover, 2 alien heads, and 6 brain stalks. Here's my full stats page in HD. You're welcome to pause if you'd like. I can't say this experience was particularly fun, but I'd be willing to do something similar in the future. I also think I might have a world record now for time survived. I could be wrong, maybe someone else has gone longer, but I couldn't find it if they have. If you've gone longer or you know someone else who has, feel free to correct me in the comments. This is my first time making a video like this, and I had a really good time doing it. Constructive criticism is always appreciated. I want to make my videos the best they can be. I know I seem kind of robotic and some of my jokes didn't land. Those are just things that will improve with time. And lastly, thanks for watching. This video has taken a lot of time, and I appreciate everyone who's made it this far. Later.